What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? My name is Isaiah. I am one half of the Homeless Heroes. The other half, Jermaine, or Maine as we call her, she is being a house hero and she is in the kitchen making sure that we have some growth so we can go out and we can feed the homeless and do our thing when it's time to do our thing. Thank you guys for joining in. I appreciate it. This is just our second live stream. And we're really excited and we're really appreciative of all the support that we have from each and every one of you guys. Using a different streaming platform. Last week I tried it right onto YouTube just to get that experience. This week we're trying StreamYard. So far I've been playing with it all week. It looks like it's pretty cool. So I'll be able to kind of maybe use some features to be able to be a little bit more interactive than we were last week when we were just speaking, and hopefully kind of bring you guys along this journey. So just kind of bear with me today. All right, so last week we talked about, well, first of all, the topic for this week is should homelessness be illegal? And this is a really hot topic right now. If you don't know what's going on, fill you in on everything. There's a big Supreme Court case coming up over Grants Pass, Oregon, I believe it's called, where they increased the homeless laws and regulations. And it's not just there, it's everywhere. I've talked to several people in the homeless community here, and they've talked about how they ramped up a lot of these laws against homelessness, and a lot of them have been arrested, and we'll get into all of that. But it's really a big hot topic issue right now that needs to be addressed, and we just want to kind of give both sides. I'm on both sides of it, and then I'll eventually give my opinion towards the end. But we want to make sure you guys have the facts, because a lot of people, they just don't have the facts. Things are opinion-based, only cleans up the community. Some people hate it because they're sympathetic to, obviously, other human beings who are displaced and who are going through something. So we're going to lay the facts out. But before we do that, we want to make sure that we give you guys some substance first, a little bit of context based on our meeting last week. I wasn't able to put our stream last week. I wasn't able to put these graphics up last week, but this week I can put these graphics up for you guys to see. So last week we talked about why don't they just get a job? This is something that we hear a lot, and I wanted to use our first live stream last week to be able to address that specifically. People make it seem as if it's just so easy for them to get a job. Why don't they just get a job? Why are they homeless? They're choosing to be homeless. Why am I going to feed them? Why am I going to take care of them? So we have a better stream, and that'll help us to be able to kind of delve into our topic for today, which is, should homelessness be illegal? So these were some of the reasons that I came up with last week. And we did an hour live stream last week, me and Maine did, on the reason why the homeless won't get a job. At the top of the list was the application process. All right. Again, if you've applied for a job in 2024 or even 2023 or anytime in the last 3 or 4 years, you'll realize that the application process is actually pretty stringent. It's not as easy as all that. It's not a matter of you just being able to go in like back in the day, old school, fill out an application, hand it right to the manager, and they hire you. There's a process that you have to go through, and there's a lot of requirements that is in that application process. Assuming that you're able to get through that, and I'm just kind of glossing over it. We got the live up of last week's session, live stream. I'm sorry, I keep saying session for you guys to check out, but I'm just going to hit some of the finer points so I can tie this into what we're talking about today. So if you get through the application process, you're going to need some basic documentation, like identification, all right? Believe it or not, that's going to disqualify a lot of them to begin with. Because if they've moved around so often from being swept from place to place, that many of them just don't have ID, all right? Employment history, again, they're homeless. When's the last time they worked? Unless they were recently became homeless, many of those individuals probably won't have very much of an employment history, and they want to use that to be able to gauge what type of worker you are. And then you start to do things like, we talk about, got a comment here. Let's see. I've been homeless, sleeping rough in Red Car, Milestone, Middlesbrough, and Billingham in Northeast England since the beginning of February. They're trying to make it an offense over here. It's backwards. So one of the comments just talked about someone being homeless and over in England. And it is backwards. I totally agree. And I'll try to get these comments as they come through as well, in addition to what's going on. But thank you for that comment. And definitely sorry to hear that. That is terrible. That is definitely terrible for sure. Identification, so you can vouch for that. A lot of them don't have identification, employment history, birth certificate, right? Some jobs you need a birth certificate for. Social security card. You're definitely going to need those first two for sure. You're definitely going to need the identification and the social security card, no matter what job you get. And again, this is based off of, if you look at this graphic, just holding a sign with the base pay of $10 an hour. So everybody always says, hey, they can just hold a sign. They can't do that. Why can't they hold a sign? You know, if you still need qualifications, if you don't just go into a place, knock on the window and say, hey, you have a sign I can hold, stand out there and make you money. That doesn't really work like that. Work permits occasionally, depending upon what type of job you have, and then depending again upon the type of job, you might need background check, drug test, You may need transportation because the job may not be localized to where you are. And then most of all, it is competitive. You are not the only person going for that job. There's probably some 18, 19, 20-year-old want to, fresh out of high school or maybe in high school. They want that job as well. And maybe they're an adult that wants this job. These people are going to be suitable candidates. They're going to come in. They're going to have a shirt and tie on for the interview. They're going to smell well. They're going to be nice. They're going to be well put together. And then they're going to interview that person. They're going to interview the homeless person. And who are they going to choose most likely? So in the most unlikeliest of cases, you may have a situation every so often where you may have somebody that has some level of sympathy or empathy, and then they go ahead and they hire a person anyway. But that's a one-off. That's a very isolated situation. That's not enough to be able to eradicate the homeless crisis in which we are experiencing all over the world, as you can see in the comment, even as far as England. So we did some math. So let's assume the person does get the job. So they get the job, they have the job, and congratulations to them. Somebody was a saint. They said, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you the job no matter what. We know that you need to get off the streets. We want to let you get a fresh start. At $10 an hour, all right. So one of the places that's by us, it's called a budget suite, because they're not going to be able to get a house. If you don't have all of these things that are listed up here, the application, the ID, all that other stuff, you're not getting a house anymore or an apartment. You even need a credit score to get it nowadays. And you have to have your credit together just to rent a place. So you're gonna at best maybe get you a room or a studio room or something. So there's place by us. It's called the budget suites. All right. So this is the budget suites right here. All right, and it's right on Fremont. I live on Fremont, so it's right on Fremont. This is the budget suites, and it's just basically a studio room. I'm sure that picture is probably doing way more justice than what it's actually worth, but I digress. And it says right there at the top, it says starting at $256.64 is what it is to be able to get this room. So if this person did get this job at $10 an hour, and then it's $2,056.64 is what it is for them to be able to rent it on a weekly basis. If we go back and we look at the math here at $10 an hour, if they work 40 hours a week, that's $400 in a week. And then you take away the $256.64 from that. Remember it's taxes as well, so you may as well say $350. And then you look at the balance that we have here that's left. And then you got to eat, so that's $20 a day for eating times 7 days a week. The person's going to be a negative $46.64 when it's all said and done. So again, this person got this job that everybody's clamoring for them to have. They have the job, and then now all of a sudden they can't even afford to be able to continue to have a suitable place to lay their head and be able to still eat just the same. So with all that said, this is why homeless people won't get a job, because they won't be able to. They won't be able to qualify in many cases. And even if they do, it's not going to necessarily solve the situation in which they're dealing with. So it's important to understand that, so we can understand why the homeless situation is such a vast one, such a big one. It's not just small and easy fix where we can go out and there's about roughly maybe 10,000 people, in the Las Vegas area that's homeless or displaced, and we can just say, oh, let's just go give them all jobs, and then they can just go work. I don't think that people would choose to live in such harsh conditions. In the summertime here in Nevada, it can get up to 117, sometimes 120 degrees, at the peak. And then in the wintertime, it can drop down to the freezing level as well, because it's the desert. So I think that people choose to live in these conditions. I've interacted with these people before, and I can assure you this isn't their choice. So, the question is, or the topic for today is, should homelessness be illegal? All right, so let's look at some facts here, and I've got some statistics for you guys as well. So let's first look at the the Supreme Court situation that's being dealt with. So this is the case right here. The Supreme Court to hear a case on criminal penalties for homelessness. So this place is Grants Pass, Oregon. It says they have enforced ordinances that bar the use of blankets, pillows, and even cardboard boxes while sleeping within the city limits. And it says the Supreme Court will hear an oral argument on Monday in a case that one legal expert has called the most important Supreme Court case about homelessness in at least 4 with cracking down in many different areas and many regions, Nevada being one of them, because a lot of folks have complained about this as well. So this gives a little bit of context about what it's about, what the dispute is about. It says that more than 600,000 people in the United States were homeless on a single night in 2023. So using those statistics is giving you an idea about how many individuals are homeless. Grants Pass can issue an order that bans the individuals from city property. A violation of that order exposes the individual to a conviction on criminal trespassing charges, which carries penalties of up to 30 days in jail and $1,250 fine. Okay, so these are individuals who are already struggling as is to be able to live and survive. And then now they're worried about being fined by their local, communities or wherever it is they reside. So this is a big deal. All right, it's a very big case, and we have to give that context behind it so that it can be understood exactly where we are and why we're discussing this today. Here's a bill that I'm going to share with you real quick, and it talks about the rights that homeless people have. Okay, so a lot of people don't know that the homeless people have rights. You'll often hear them complaining, and they'll yell, they'll say, "Hey, you can't do this to me. I have rights. I have rights." And the police look at them and treat them often as if they don't have those rights because they know they don't have a voice to be heard. But in fact, the homeless do have rights. And here are some of the universal rights for the most part. In other words, it obviously changes from region to region, from place to place. They do change a bit. But overall, these are the rights that are pretty much synonymous with wherever it is that you go. Number one is to move freely in public spaces. So they have the right to move freely in public spaces. Next, they have the right to equal treatment by state and municipal authorities. All right, so they have right to equal treatment by state and municipal authorities. The third one says freedom from discrimination while seeking or maintaining employment. Okay, so again, these are things that are all, some people say they're subjective because a person's going to look at a person's appearance and they're going to judge them based on that. But supposedly, according to the right, they're not supposed to. But a person has eyes. They're going to see that, and they're going to say, "I'm not hiring this individual because they appear to be homeless," which they obviously are. And then they can use some other reason to be able to mask it, like they don't have all of the documentation, or they did not nail the interview process as well as someone else did. So emergency medical care. Now, this is the big one. I've seen a lot of them, either in bad shape. A lot of them are malnutrition. Many of them have health issues. And this says they have the right to emergency medical care. Vote, the right to vote, register to vote, receive documentation necessary for voter registration. Okay. Protection from disclosure or of information or records conveyed to a temporary residence. And then lastly, reasonable expectation of privacy and personal property. All right. So these are the rights that they have that are constantly infringed upon by the police. Sorry about that. And there's some more right there for you as well to be able to kind of peruse over and look over. But that's the rights that they have. And those are the ones that are stomped on a regular basis by police and other individuals. So now that we have some context about what this argument is about, now that we have some context about exactly what their rights are, let's talk a little bit about some statistics, and some data. So this says how many homeless people are in the U.S. and what does this data miss? So let's just read the highlighted area right here. It says around 1 in every 500 Americans was experiencing homelessness, in January of 2023. All right, so this data goes back obviously a year. This was as recent as March 28th, the day before my birthday. 2024. And it's giving you the statistics based on last year. And they're still compiling statistics for this year, obviously, because we're still in this year. It says the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, counted 653,104 homeless Americans in its annual point in time report, which measures homelessness across the U.S. on a single night each winter. That is a 12.1 increase from the same report in 2022. So I don't know where these words are coming from. Super, I don't know where that came from. It's kind of tiny text. I'm looking at it and I'm seeing it. I'm trying to make it seem like that I'm Superman here. I have great eyesight, but that isn't the case. So these are statistics about how many individuals was homeless as of last year. These are statistics from last year, so we can have some type of idea of what we're talking about. This isn't a small local issue. This is something that is a homeless crisis, and these are the amount of individuals that were homeless. And it also has statistics about the groups of individuals in which were experienced homelessness, and it looks like African Americans was at the top of the list. I was researching, I was surprised to see that, because one thing I always say is homelessness shows no bounds. All right, it shows no discrimination to race, creed, gender, or nothing like that. You know, at the end of the day, I see a mixed pot of people that's out there of all races and ethnicities that, you know, suffer from homelessness. And I was surprised to see the African Americans top that list. But those are the numbers and those are the statistics right there. So let's get to, should homelessness be illegal? All right, now that we have the context of why they're on the streets and why they don't have a job, many of those individuals, we understand what these big Supreme Court cases are supposed to be centered around and what's going on with that. We understand the data and the statistics about what qualifies and classifies a person as being homeless, how many individuals are out there that's homeless, and we have all of that information. Let's just jump right to it and address why should homelessness be illegal, yes or no. So we're going to give pros and cons on both sides. And I say we because I'm speaking for myself and beautiful Maine, all right, who is being a house hero instead of a homeless hero. Today she's in there cooking up some dinner that I'm going to enjoy just shortly. So should homeless be illegal? All right, should homelessness be illegal? All right, so we'll throw this up there. So let's start with some of the reasons to support the criminalization of homelessness. Here's some reasons to support it. So here's some reasons why homelessness should be illegal. All right, and I'm going to speak from first experience. These are things that I've come up with based on my personal opinion. All right, not from anybody else. So bear with me here. Number one, it lowers the property value. So it's a bad look. It says they're very messy individuals. All right, so it definitely lowers the property value for sure. There's no doubt about that. And if I'm a homeowner, we stay in a community in some lofts in downtown Las Vegas, right on Fremont Street. And a lot of the people who live inside of here are homeowners, and they've owned their homes for quite some time. We don't own a home, we rent one of the homes, but the majority of the people are homeowners. And we have a homeless encampment that pops up, frequently in front of our gates. And they just kind of, hang out there and congregate. And it's a really weird spot that we're in because the community actually helps us with a lot of the donations for the clothes. We take care of the food. Whenever there's a holiday that comes up or something to that effect, then they'll chip in and they'll help out with a lot of the clothes. They'll donate. But there's a lot of issues that we're having with the people the homeless people that's in the community as well. So it's really a weird dichotomy because they want to help, but then by the same token, a lot of the problems that we're having is attributed to that. A lot of these individuals are looking to sell their homes because of all of the things that's going on around here. It's not the best neighborhood, even though the gated community that we stay in is really nice. So a lot of them want to sell their home. Well, that becomes problematic because of the fact that it's not aesthetically pleasing when you look out there and you see all these individuals camped out front. So they call the police a lot of times to sweep them and ask them to move down a little bit, and they comply, but it's just an ongoing situation. And then they're very messy. They leave behind a lot of stuff because where they're going to put it, and they don't care. They look like the city doesn't care about us. We don't care about the city. So they'll leave containers out. There's clothes out. there's shoes out, there's cardboard, there's wood. It's if you're a homeowner, it's going to drive you crazy. And again, I'm talking about I'm inside of a loft area, but what if these people are camped out like right in front of your actual home or inside of it, which it does happen to some people. I'm sure this can be very, very, very upsetting for those individuals as well. So that's number one. From that perspective, I can understand it definitely being frustrating. Let me see if I can find a video so I can share. This stuff is on our YouTube page, the shorts and the videos as well. They're on there. I'm not sure what quality this is going to be because this is my first time using StreamYard. But let's try this just the same and see how it goes. Well, you can look and see. Look at all this trash and debris right here. Look at this. Now, this is an area that I went down when I was going down to the tunnel.
God bless you.
To help feed some of the
I have food and water.
And just kind of follow along. We saw all of that. Take it back a little bit again. Look at all of this garbage and this dirt, this debris, and this is how many of the. And then you can see
I have food and water.
Towels.
Hi, doggy. Hi. God bless you.
Look at all this trash. It's kind of choppy right now because it's on the trash. It's
you welcome. God bless you. I have food and water.
So hopefully that gives you some type of context of exactly why I say what I'm saying. It's if you're a homeowner, it's going to definitely drive you crazy 100%. Okay, that's number one. All right, let's move on to the next one. Next, potential increase in violence. Example, break-ins, robberies, and theft. Okay, this is a big one. A lot of people aren't feeling safe in our community. Just the other day, everybody here has ring cams. So they have a whole ring cam community. And the other day, there was a situation where someone just jumped the fence because this back wall that we have is kind of shared with a public space. So they can just really jump right over the fence. We need to get these shepherd hooks. We're trying to get the HOA to be able to do it what they are because they're homeowners. But they're giving them some pushback on that. But they can just jump the fence and come into your yard and then just, well, not the fence, but the wall. And then they can just jump back and just be gone or walk through the community, scot-free. So there's a lady next door. She kept her bike in the backyard. And then we have a community on Facebook that we all, share where we can look and we can see what's going on. If something seems amiss or awry, people will share their ring cam footage. And it's really creepy when you see it, and these people, they're very bold. Just jumped right back there, took her bike, and just the tires were flat, so he couldn't ride it out. Just casually walked it out, walked and went back to the front fence and went right back out there on Fremont Street. Just took it down the street, and whatever he did with it, he did with it. I don't know. So there's definitely an increase in theft because they don't have. And if it's between them eating at night or feeding whatever addiction that they may have, or your property, then they're going to choose, obviously, being able to take care of themselves. All right. And they've been doing that for probably a very long time, many of them. Break-ins, we thank God, knock on wood, we haven't really had any of those, but there has been situations where you see on the ring cam where they'll walk right up to the door and try the door handle. They try a door handle. Now, what do they think they're going to be doing when they come in there? These people are armed with weapons or at least something to be able to defend themselves. And I don't know if they're just looking for a place to flop. I don't know if they're trying to rob the place. I don't know if they're high. Not all homeless people are addicts, so I don't mean to insinuate that. But what I am saying is that even though there hasn't been any break-ins, there's multiple situations where they've shown people trying to enter people's homes. I haven't heard any robberies or people getting robbed, but obviously we have people in the community that come in really early when it's still dark, or leave out very late, women as well, and they're just not feeling very safe, which is understandable. So this is definitely a concern, and This happens when you have people who are without, and they are camping out right there, right around, your home. All right, so that's another one. Let's move on to the next one. We have danger to the community, fires, etc. This is big. This is big. The first year that we moved in here, we've been here for 2.5 years now. The first year that we moved in, within 6 months, there was a massive fire. They had some buildings behind us that were some homes that were under construction. They were already sold. They were just waiting for occupancy, and they were finishing up some details. We still haven't gotten to the bottom of them, but the general consensus is that they believe that some of the homeless people went inside of the homes, and they're known for building fires. They do that all the time. And then some of them they obviously are addicts, and some of them are on drugs, and they cook up some drugs. I don't know the science behind this. Don't even get me started. But many people believe that the fire was attributed to that. And because the house wasn't finished and it was all fresh wood that was in there that they had down, the fire just caught and spread, and it burnt up so many homes that it reduced our community by at least 50%. Myself, as well as a good friend of mine who happened to be in town, we were the first responders. We were the first people that saw the fire. We ran out there, and we were able to actually literally save some people because they were unaware of it. We were on the news because of it. It was like a whole big deal. They said it's the worst fire in Las Vegas history in the last 25 years. It was the worst fire. We were homeless for a day. The fire stopped just one or two units short of our house. We had to stand behind and watch it burn and pray that it didn't reach our home. And it was probably the windiest day of the year. It was, when I tell you it was insane, it was insane. Let's see if I can get a video for you guys to see it. I took a video. This is the fire right here.
Oh shit!
This is another guy that ran out when he saw us out.
Oh god! Oh god!
This is me.
Oh!
Video.
Oh! Oh god!
Yeah, so it was a very traumatic situation. Me and my friend Brian, we ran and started beating on people's doors, screaming. People's power went out. We had to help people with their dogs, get their animals out. We had just a few moments to get stuff out of our house, and we just kind of fled. We put people's cages of animals in the back of our cars and trucks. And we just did whatever we could to get everybody out. Thank God nobody perished because of this fire. But it was a bad situation, which we're pretty confident that was caused by the individual homeless community. It was actually on Father's Day, and it was a couple years ago. So that's in June. So again, we wouldn't think that they would be starting a fire for warmth. It probably was something else. 6 months after that, there was another fire. All right. And again, it happens. It happens when they're involved, whether it be for warmth or whether it be, I don't know, drugs, or I don't know what it is, but there's definitely a big risk for danger, for fires, and we know that firsthand. So this is another reason why criminalizing homelessness makes sense to many individuals, because so far we've covered that if you're a homeowner, it lowers the property taxes and the values of the neighborhood. It's a bad look, and it's not aesthetically pleasing. There's a potential increase in violence, of theft, of robbery, or things of that nature, and then it could potentially be a danger to the community. Increase in drug use and activity. Okay, this is another big one. There's been no shortage of times that we've seen individuals that we know were not homeless when we were serving these people, but they were there in these communities. And that's because they were servicing them in another type of fashion, if you know what I mean. Again, I understand why people have a certain perception about the homeless community, but you just can't, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Or you can't just assume everybody, because we talk to a lot of individuals who they're not affected, by this. They're not addicts. They're not drug addicts and things of this nature. But we've seen a lot of these people. They'll be having drug dealers come right there and they're giving them their drugs while not in front of us, but while we were over in that particular community servicing those people. A lot of them are high when we go there and we try to service them. We see that. We see it both ways. But if there's homeless encampments that are in front of people's property, then that increases the chance of these drug dealers then going into that community, and you're going to see an increase in drug use because of that. So by being able to make homelessness illegal, you keep that potentially away from those particular neighborhoods and communities where there may be kids, and whatever else, or maybe it's just a clean neighborhood and you guys don't want that in your neighborhood. It's understandable. So right now, this is the fourth reason why I have said that these are the reasons that you should support, well, not you should support, but people feel they should support the criminalization of homelessness. Number 5, this is really big. Homeless communities grow fast. Homeless communities grow fast. Take my word for it. You would think that if you found a sweet spot, that you would just kind of keep it to yourself, right? And you're like, I don't want to tell everybody about this because then everybody's going to come. It's my space. It's not like that. These people, they talk to one another. They're like, hey, I found this place right over there on Fremont, man. It's prime real estate, and then before you know it, it goes from being just one person that's there or 5 tents to it being 25 tents. And I'm talking about within the span of a few days. This is the reason why the police, they sweep so frequently. They sweep at least once a week, maybe once every 5 days. And by sweep, what I mean by that is that the police, they go into these communities and they get on the loudspeaker and they tell everybody got to get their stuff and they have to move. And they give them a certain amount of time to do it. And if they don't, then they go and they start, just taking their stuff. And Maine says she's seen them have bulldozers out before. I haven't seen that, where they go through and they just push all their stuff, whatever, and they level it and they go through their stuff. And it's like being evicted, essentially, where a constable comes and says, hey, listen, I'm locking this door. You've got so much time to get your possessions. And after that, then you're just hit. So they do this once every 4 or 5 days or a week because they know and they understand that if we don't do something about this, that this thing's going to pop up and it's going to grow, and it's going to double or triple in size and numbers. We've seen it happen across the street. They made them move from in front of our units in our community. And then before you know it, the next thing that you know, they were on the street. It was like 2 or 3 tents. And then one day, maybe a few days later, me and Maine was riding to get some food or something. And we looked up and it had to be at least 20, 25 tents. And then the next day after that, then they were all gone because the police swept them. So these things, they're not isolated. Like you think about, okay, there's one homeless guy and we feel bad and we don't want to make him move. So we'll let him camp out here. It's not going to be like that. Like there'll be more people coming and it's going to grow in size. All right. And then the last thing that I have on this list, and I'm sure there's more, and you can drop in the comments section, if you're watching it live with us or if you're watching the replay, you can drop in the comments section some things as well that you may want to add to this list. Should I have forgotten stuff? This was just something basic that I threw together based on my top of the head, right off the top of my head, and the experiences that we've had. Is they have nothing to lose. Now, that's dangerous. Okay. The only time you deal with somebody who's got nothing to lose, that is dangerous. In other words, they don't care. Many of them have been arrested before. They don't have anything. Some of them, they don't have a reason to live. I haven't really run into anybody that wanted to off themselves despite the fact they're homeless. But I'm sure that there's a vast community of these individuals that don't, vast number of these individuals that don't care if they wake up the next day or not. It's not like they have a whole lot to look forward to for some of them. Some of them may have hope. So when you have nothing to lose, you don't care about, destroying public property or the appearance that it may have or how it can affect you because you're getting ready to get in your nice car. You're getting ready to go into your plush home and they're not. And when people have nothing to lose, it spells trouble. So with that said, those are some of the reasons that I said that I believe that people feel that the support of the criminalization of homelessness is justified. All right. I'm not saying that's my position as of yet. We'll get to that. But these are, I like to play both sides of the fence. I don't like to have any bias because, again, we've had our challenges with the homeless community as well. And by the way, we don't feed the people that's in front of our unit. That's the promise that I've given to the people in the community, get them help. We don't feed the people that's right in front. And I know that may seem mean, and then sometimes it may seem backwards because you may say, well, if you feed them and if you help them, then maybe they'll be less inclined to come in. But I believe that it will encourage them to want to wait around and stay and expect it, and that community will grow because they know that there's people in here that are sympathetic to the cause, and that they'll come out and they'll feed them occasionally, and then it'll go from them waiting outside the walls to them coming in the gate or coming over the walls and then looking for the various houses to be able to have these people to help them out. So it can potentially put us in danger. So we make sure that we drive away from our community before we start our missions. And then as a result, that's the reason why I believe that the community helps us the way that they do. Okay. Now, here's reasons why not to support the criminalization of homelessness. Okay. I think there may be one or two more, but there's definitely more points. Number one, most Americans are one paycheck away from being homeless. This could be you. Okay. So let me make sure that I put this into perspective. Most Americans are one paycheck away from being homeless. This could be you. I don't have this segment right in front of me. It'll probably take me a little while to be able to find it, actually. But there is a guy. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I should have had it ready. I'm slipping, right? Let me see if I can. It was a guy that I helped maybe 6 months ago. And he asked me, he caught me walking down the street. I was trying to give out to some people in the tent. They were not there. It was my last meal. He flagged me down. I saw him. And, he was very grateful that we were out there helping the way that we were. What's happening? No, that's not it. That isn't it. Technical difficulties. But he was really appreciative of us helping out. And he sat down and he put into perspective. And he says, what a lot of people don't realize is that most people are one paycheck away from being homeless. And when he said that, I thought about it and I put it into perspective. He basically said that a lot of people, they don't have savings set aside like they're supposed to for emergencies. I'll be honest, we don't. I can't speak to you, but if something dramatic happens, we're gonna have to take that money from our basic bills and everything else, and we're gonna have to try to figure it out. So it's a lot of people are very close to homelessness. He said something like, if you look into your chime at the end of the when you get your check or whatever, and you might have $700 left. You're just not. A lot of people aren't in a position to be able to deal with emergencies as they arise. Sorry if you guys are just joining us. I'm trying to find this footage of this guy so that you guys can see it, and the video can obviously do more justice than I can. But consider it from that particular perspective. It is a big deal because we have to remember that it could very well be us. The situation, it can be us. It's not like we're above it. Here it is. I believe this is it right here. I believe this is it. Here it is.
You're welcome.
It's a blessing, bro. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm not lazy. I just have a little bit of bad luck. I'm getting off the street, but thank you.
You're welcome.
God bless you.
That's it.
Look at that next paycheck that gets deposited into your chime or whatever.
What happened in your situation? How did you end up here?
My back.
Okay.
I took my back out.
Sorry if your audio is going in and out. It's kind of choppy, maybe not connection.
Yeah.
So I got addicted to fentanyl.
Well, God bless you, man. We try to come out every Sunday
Thank you.
and just ride around and just help where we can.
So to summarize it, basically he said if it didn't come through on you guys and very well. Again, this is our second stream, so we'll get better. Bear with us. But he says that basically most Americans are one paycheck away from being homeless. If you look in your Chime account, when your Zelle or whatever it is that you have, your Cash App, PayPal, And that check hits, you realize that, you know what, I'm just one major incident or crisis away from being in trouble. And in his instance, his back had went out when he was at work. Apparently he was a day worker, and he was working at a job. His back went out, and as a result of it, he wasn't able to, I'm sorry, a labor worker, I said day worker. He's a labor worker, his back went out. And when his back went out, he was unable to work. And, you know, he went to the doctor and he asked him, you know, what can be done? And it was such a bad injury where they said he probably would need surgery, but if he got surgery, there was a risk that he can be paralyzed. He was in a lot of pain, and they're like, well, you'll be out of pain, you know, but you might be paralyzed. We can't make any promises. So he says, no. Definitely don't want to run that risk. What else can we do? And then they prescribed him some pills, and he got addicted to fentanyl as a result of taking the pain pills to be able to address the pain in which he was in from the injury. And then since then, he's been on the streets. So if anything happens, if somebody gets, if there's an emergency like a fire or a flood, some people got burned out of their homes. That's how they ended up there. They didn't have any family members or friends that were alive or that were there to take them in. Injuries or illness like cancer, hurting a job, or anything like that. Guess what? You're one paycheck away from your homeless, and this could potentially be you. So as a result of that, you want to look at it from a different perspective, not just the perspective of, oh man, you know what, this person's homeless. They put themselves here. That's not necessarily the case. This could be you. This could very well be you, and you need to keep that in mind, because I always tell people one of the reasons that we do this is that if something happened to us, there's a twist of fate where we were in that position. I would hope that somebody would do us the same kindness. Okay. All right. Next, let's move on to not their choice or not their fault. All right. It says that some are employed and the cost of living is simply too high. So there's been people that we've met that they're living in their cars, and they follow us around, and it's creepy. Like we'll be looking in the rearview mirror, we're like, what's going on? Who's that back there? And then we'll get out and I'll say, can I help you? And they'll say, can we have something to eat? And I'm like, you're in a car. You know what I mean? Like, where do you get money from gas from? Like, and then, we have a job, but now we have to choose between gas, and we have to choose between eating, and we can't do both. And we don't have anywhere to live. We don't have anywhere to stay because the cost of living is too high. When I first moved here to Nevada, I'm from Detroit. Go Lions, right? They did good this year, so I can wear this hat. Normally I wear it backwards, but I can wear it forward because they've been doing relatively well. But I first moved out here from Detroit. I weighed my options and I said, you know what? It's actually cheaper for what we are paying. We would get more house. I was staying in a home in Warren, Michigan, right outside of Detroit, paying about $1,300 a month for a 2-bedroom house, which wasn't bad at the time. I've been here 7.5 years. Out here we had a 2-bedroom apartment for like $1,000, and I'm like, the access to what it is that we have out here versus what we have there, and then the amount of money that you're spending and what you're getting was the quality was much better here. So it was a no-brainer when we were looking to relocate. And now the 1-bedroom apartment, again, $1,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment. 7.5 years ago, moved in 2016. Now we're talking about $1,500 for a 1-bedroom apartment per month, and about $1,800 for a 2-bedroom apartment. So that gives you some idea of the inflation over the past 7.5 years. So yeah, it's not cheap here anymore. We have a lot of things that we didn't have back then. We have a WNBA team that's back-to-back champions. The Raiders have now moved out here from California, and a lot of California individuals are selling their homes and they're moving to Nevada because there's no state taxes here. And then on top of it, the cost of living is even too high for them. So they're like, I can get comparable weather and comparable real estate for less money and still have access to go back and forth as I please. I'm just a quick drive or plane trip away, and I still can count out my business, or I can still, converse with my family and still be there for family functions. I worked at the airport for a brief spell, and there were people that would fly in to and out for their kids' soccer games and sports games and tournaments like it was nothing, because it was just 45 minutes away on the flight. And then it was cheap. It was $80, $90 round trip. So they're like, yeah, I don't have to stay there and spend absorbent fees when I still can make sure that I'm there for every one of my grandkids' games. So again, the cost of living is just too high for some of these individuals. Some don't have necessary documents for employment. We talked about that and we covered that a little while ago. If you were here at the top of the hour with us, welcome if you guys are just coming in. And we talked about why the homeless don't have a job. Some of them don't have the documentation. So when we talk about whether or not it should be illegal or not, we have to remember that these people aren't necessarily here by choice. Some of them don't have the documentation necessary to be able to secure employment. All right, next. Some have criminal records due to being arrested for homelessness. Now, this is the big one. They arrest these individuals quite often here for being homeless. Okay, so just consider this for 1 second. Just consider this. So you've lost everything. Now, we don't know how long some of these people have been out here, but you've lost everything to a point to where you are relegated to living, on the streets. Obviously, you don't have a good support system from your family. You may or may not have employment. And I want to make sure I paint this picture for you. You're urinating and defecating in public. You are digging through garbage to be able to try to secure a meal for the day. In the nights, you're freezing and you're trying to find whatever you can. There was a video that I took where this guy I went to give him some food. And he was asleep underneath some plastic. He put a plastic bag, and this pit bull was next to him. He was huddling up with this pit bull for warmth under some plastic, and they were just laying there when I was giving them food. These conditions are unimaginable. In the summertime, they can't go out throughout the day because it gets so hot that they hide underneath the underpasses until the sun goes down. And then that's when they go out and they start searching for food and for water. One lady, she didn't have any shoes, so she took some carry-out containers and she put them on her feet, and she put her feet in them so that way her soles didn't get scorched because it was 117 degrees, and the pavement was even hotter than that probably from all of the heat settling in on there. These are unbearable and unimaginable conditions that you're in. And then on top of all of that, you have to worry about being arrested and going to jail just because you don't have anything. So now not only do I not have nothing, but then I'm being punished because I don't have anything. And then how am I going to get out? And then when I do get out, I got to try to rebuild all of that stuff that, you see them with those baskets and they have those tents. That stuff's gone. They have to start over from scratch. They got to find all that stuff again. And they have to rebuild up. And I'm still don't have, a job. I still don't have a place to stay. And then now it's going to make it even more difficult for me to be able to get a place to stay, because of the fact that I have been arrested. So now I have a criminal record on top of it. Let's see if we can find this video real quick. I have a couple of them where it talks about, geez, what am I doing here? Where are we at here? Up for us, but apparently not. Let's see where we are. Yeah, here we go. We call this guy here the God bless you, man. He always says God bless you.
How could that be a crime? That's not even your problem. That's not even your fault. Nobody chooses to be homeless.
Who cares if you're homeless?
Right, you're both of those things.
My family's been fighting for this country. My father, my sister, my brother.
He's
I came from Harlem to here.
Yeah.
And got here. All of equal rights, every civil rights we marched for back in the day don't count. None of that count. I ain't making
right now. Yeah,
37 times since he's been here. I have a video of another lady who just says she was arrested, an elderly lady. She's been in jail twice, and I'm not going to load that up because we're having some technical difficulties. I'm thinking it's my signal maybe. It's kind of going in and out, and I don't want to continue to load these up until we get this figured out. Hopefully by next week we'll have it figured out. Each week will be a little bit better than we were before, but we're still plugging along. But at any rate, so on top of everything else, they have to deal and combat against that, being arrested. And now they have criminal records. So when they finally do get their documentation and they're going to get a job. Now they have to deal with the fact that they have a criminal record now. Right? Some have developed addictions due to depression. Now, a common misconception is that homeless people are homeless because of the fact that they were addicts. So they sold everything, they smoked it up, they shot it up, they stole from their family. We watch a lot of television, so we believe that whatever we see on television is a catch-all and applies to everybody. And that simply is not the case. I'm not saying that isn't the case that has happened to many of them, but it for sure isn't the situation that's happened to all of them, and probably not even half of them. Let me paint a picture for you right here. If you lost everything that you have, I'm a person, I've never smoked a drug a day in my life. So I never had a drug a day in my life. I don't smoke. I don't smoke anything. I've never smoked marijuana, cigarettes, nothing. Never done a drug at all. I'm not bragging, saying I'm better. I'm just saying that if I had to sleep on the streets, and remember some of the context I just gave for you to consider about these individuals. If I were in their shoes, I cannot guarantee that I would not develop some addiction myself. I don't know how I would cope with that. I would imagine these people are depressed on a regular basis. And some of us have people in our family, and some of us who are watching this may even suffer from drug addiction. But some of us have people in our family who are on drugs for nothing, for less, just for recreation, just recreationally. That's just what they're into. I'm not judging anybody, and I've never walked in these communities and said, "Oh, this person's just a druggie." I'm not giving them anything. Again, keep this in mind. We've never given money before. There's one incident that we did give some money to an individual, and that was because we did a GoFundMe. Him and his brother got stranded here, and he needed to get back home, and we did a GoFundMe. We got him plane tickets, and the lady who was the donor, she said, "Here, give him this to start a new life." I took the guy to the airport. I watched him get on the plane, fly away, called and did a checkup on him about a month or two later. He had found employment. He was working. It was a success story. But aside from that, we don't give him any money. So we're talking about just feeding. So at the very least, I don't understand what's so bad about that no matter what. But just keep in mind that not all these individuals are addicts, and the ones who are addicts, there's a lot of it is just because they're probably trying to cope with depression from not having anything, having lost stuff. Some of them have lost their family. There's crazy stuff to go out there. Again, if you guys haven't subscribed, please subscribe and watch some of these shorts and some of these videos. If you like long-form content, we've got plenty of it up there for you. If you guys shorts, we've got a couple hundred of those up there for you as well. And one of them talks about a guy who was just recently in the homeless community, just became homeless not long ago. And he saw a guy get killed over a can of beer. A guy got stabbed and killed over a can of beer a week ago. A week prior to us interacting with him. So it's crazy stuff that's going out there. So with that said, we got to make sure we understand these people, they have a lot of mental and emotional trauma. We throw that word around a lot nowadays, mental and emotional health, but then we don't believe that it can be associated with people who are going through as much as they're going through. So keep that in mind as well when you see these people that have these addictions. Sometimes it wasn't the addiction that came first. It was the homelessness that came first, and then the addiction came second. Doesn't make it okay, but make sure you keep that in context and consideration. They are human beings. So the reason why not to support the criminalization of homelessness, number 3, they're human beings. Okay? So I know that's a hard concept to believe. I've seen people say before, don't feed the animals and call them animals. People can be really, really, really mean, and they can be really nasty. But they're human beings. The same way that your stomach's going to rumble and you're going to get hungry, you're going to get thirsty, theirs will be as well. And just because you look the other way and you act like that they don't exist doesn't change the fact that they do. And we have to make sure we honor that. We have to make sure we appreciate that. And I don't care if you're a religious person or not. I always greet these people by saying God bless you. Sometimes I say it too much and it pisses people off, but I don't care, because the thing is that I want them to be able to have hope. I want them to believe that, you don't have to believe what I believe, but I believe that God dropped in my spirit for me to be able to go and just do this. We don't have any funding. We don't have any resources. We don't have any sponsorship. That comes straight out of our bill money for us to be able to do. Nobody is donating money each week for us to do this. but it's something that we're doing because we see that there's a need and we want to be the change that we want to see. And I think that's important. We keep waiting around for help to be coming. Help's not coming. It has to be us. We got to be the ones that's going to do something about it. And so we do. But they're human beings, and they're going to starve like we starve. They're going to hurt like we hurt. They're going to die like we die someday. And I don't want to be the one that attributed to it because I thought that I was too good to give them a sandwich or spaghetti dinner and a water. I'm going to spend that money on something else. And if I can spend on something positive like humanity, that's what I'm going to do. All right. So they're humans. Here's a point that Maine brings up all the time. We will happily feed a stray dog, but reluctantly feed a homeless person. She says this all the time. People are nicer to the stray dog. The stray dog walk up, you looking around in your car, and what do I have to give them? And you walk up to them, you rub them, or you throw them a bone or a sandwich or something. But then someone come up and say, can you please, spare some? Do you have any food for me to eat? Get out of here, man. You work, put all that bait and get away from me, man. Get out of my face. It's like, wow, really? We value, and again, it's because we believe that they can be working, but hopefully we debunked that in the last live or at the beginning of this one live stream that isn't the case. It's not just that easy to get a job. I tried to last year. I got one, but I had to jump through so many doggone hoops to get that job. It was a temporary part-time job, pushing people at the airport, So it's not that easy, folks. Number 4, overcrowded jails. All right, so jails should be reserved for real criminals. All right, do you want your jails to be so full of homeless people, because there's about 10,000 of them out this way? Do you want them to be so full of homeless people that somebody does something to you or somebody to your family member and they don't have a place to house them because of the fact that there's people that just didn't have anywhere to stay? They're locking those people up for not having a place to stay. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I want the criminals to be in jail because someday it may happen to me and my family member, and I want to know that person's put away, right? Once they have their trial or their day in court, and proved guilty. But being homeless, these people have nowhere to go. All right. So, and it also says potentially using taxpayer dollars to house feed them. So, hey, guess what? Now they go to jail. Okay. So they go to jail. You didn't want to give them $1. You didn't want to give them a meal. Great. But now, if you live in a city or state where part of your taxes going towards that, then your taxes are going to raise because now the jails are full. You still going to be paying to feed them 3 meals a day now. You could have just helped them out before, So it's the same difference. So yeah, that needs to be considered as well, right? Oops, sorry about that. I'm going in and out here. Forces the government to use the allocated funds correctly and honestly. There are millions of dollars set aside for homeless shelters and programs that are being misused each year by giving raises to the corporate bigwigs, etc. So I almost fell out of my chair when I heard somebody kind of illuminate to me. I don't know how credible this is, how much these people in these shelters make each year, but it is definitely for some of them in the range of 6 figures. 6 figures. Some of these people who are over these shelters, or run these shelters or just work there. 6 figures. Now, they don't have bunks or beds for them to sleep in, and a lot of the food and stuff is taken care of by the government, but they have funding that's given to them to be able to expand, increase, give them nicer items or things, better food, whatever the case is. I'm not an expert at this. And this money is being used to be able to help these people purchase sports cars, help them to be able to, live much more luxurious lifestyles, and just being, misused and incorrectly allocated. And as a result, then there becomes a lack. And then as a result, then there's people who are not getting the help that they could potentially be getting. When you by not criminalizing homelessness, you're forcing these people to be able to use the funds the way that they're supposed to be used. So they can no longer get away with doing this because now it's just like, well, if you just lock them up and then there's all this funding that's here, they're going to still use it to be able to do whatever they want to do with it. But if they have to use it because it's not illegal, and then the states start cracking down, the government started cracking down on the states that is giving this funding to, saying, where's that money going? We need a detailed, analysis of exactly where all that money that we gave you went and how you put it to use. Then I think that it'll definitely, it'll definitely hold people accountable, if nothing else. Okay. And then the last one is it provides them with hope of a fresh start. So at the end of the day, by not criminalizing homelessness, it provides them with hope of a fresh start. They begin to feel human again. They begin to feel appreciated. They begin to feel like that they're just, that they got a break. The last thing that you want, like I said a little while ago, is to just be going through everything you're going through. And then the police pull up and just put you in handcuffs. It's just like, man, like this day went from bad to worse. And then again, some people have been arrested 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, 20, 37 times since they've been here. Who's going to hire somebody like this? You're a repeat offender. Of course I'm a repeat offender. I still don't have a place to stay. So every time you ride through these communities, you're going to see me on one of these streets until there is an answer, a place to stay. So that brings me to my take on it, right? Should the homelessness be illegal? Should they criminalize homelessness? My answer to that is I believe no. I believe that if you look at this list, all right, there's more to consider for it not being illegal than it is for it to be illegal. I understand it lowers your property value. There's a potential of increase in violence, the danger community, increased drug use, homeless communities grow fast, then the lose. Those are all big deals. Those are huge deals. Trust me, we deal with it on a day-to-day basis. But you know what? I'm one paycheck away from being homeless if there's an emergency because I don't have savings set aside to deal with a major emergency. Okay, I believe that not all the homeless people that is their fault and that they should be held accountable and be arrested and thrown away with criminals because they have nowhere to stay. I believe that they're human beings like I am. I went down there and I've talked to them in these communities and, given them hugs and heard their stories and sat with them and fed while they're eating and gave them food and gave them clothes and helped them however I could. So I know that they're human beings, and I would feed a stray dog, but I'm going to feed a human being as well because I'm human. I have dogs too, so I feed dogs. Okay. I don't want my jail cells being overcrowded with them in there and then criminals not being able to get in there because there's 10,000 homeless people, held up in jails and taxpayers' money is paying to be able to house them. I don't think that the government should be, or the state should be using these funds incorrectly that's being allocated by the government. So, I think they should be held accountable, and I want to make sure that these people feel like they have hope and they have a fresh start. So the answer to my question is I do not believe that homelessness should be illegal. I am against the criminalization of homelessness. We're going to be keeping a very close eye on this Supreme Court case as it unfolds. And hopefully this sheds some light on the situation, on the case itself, on some of the way that people feel, which we do understand, and we suffer and go through those things as well, but also to be an advocate for those individuals who are homeless in this place as well, and let them know that we feel that we feel their plight and what they're going through. This is a crisis, and we believe they deserve a break and some compassion. I don't think that there's an easy fix to this. I believe that both sides are valid. So remember, if I have to err on the side, I'm going to err on the side that I don't believe they should be. But I do believe that the issues that everyone else is facing that is not homeless are real issues. And I believe it's a delicate balance, and I don't have the answer to how we can appease both sides, how we can appease the individuals who are the sympathists, the people who are, I want to help, but by the same token, this is hurting me as a homeowner, a human, or a person. And then obviously the homeless people as well. I don't know how you can appease both sides. There's no real way to straddle that fence safely. But until that happens, I believe that they deserve a fresh start and opportunity, or at the very least, they deserve a break. So we'll continue to go out and do our mission from week to week, and continue to help them as best we can, as best we know how. We encourage each one of you guys to be able to go out in your respective communities and to be able to help how you can. It doesn't take much, is what it says right here at the bottom. That is the model that we have, and we'll stick by it. But it doesn't take much to do these kindnesses. If you only start off with reaching a dozen people, that's a dozen people's life that you helped and you impacted. They're going to remember that you came and that you did that. They'll never forget it. That's the reason why when I walk up, I always say, God bless you, because I want, when they realize that kindness was done to them, I don't need the credit for this. You know, I want them to believe that God sits high and looks low, and that he's still providing for them. If that's not what they believe, it's not what they believe. I'm not tripping about it. If that's not what you believe, it's not what you believe. It's nothing wrong with it. But I want them to hear that kindness, hear that when they receive that kindness. And for you, the same thing. When you go out, however you want to go out and represent it, that's fine. But they're going to remember that kindness that you gave them, even if it's just a one-off. And if you're afraid to go into these communities or you're uncertain, donate to a charity or people that are doing this like us. All right, this isn't a plug to get you guys to give us money, but we'd be very appreciative if you did support us in some type of way. But more than anything, just we can't wait around for help. We have to be the change. All heard the quote, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. We started this almost 2 years ago by taking that one step, and we're still going strong this far. For those of you guys who peeked in, we appreciate you and we thank you. We're new to this, but we promise once we got 1,000 subscribers, which again, thank you guys, by the way, for making that happen. We love you for that. In less than 9 months' time, we were able to reach 1,000 subscribers. And then that's no short feat or milestone. We know that YouTube is hard, it's difficult, and not everybody reaches this in years. So it means the world to us that you guys are supporting us in that way. So thank you. If the live streams aren't the best, they'll get better over the weeks. But our promise was that we were going to start interacting with our community once we got 1,000 subscribers. So that's why we started. For those of you guys who are watching the replay of this, please feel free to comment with your opinions. Please be respectful of them. I have a lot of individuals that they are upset with us. They call us enablers. They're mad at us for doing this. And that's why I thought that these would be helpful, because even if you don't agree, at least you can understand more than one perspective when it comes to this. And then also, please drop in those comment sections ideas for things that you want us to cover and discuss moving forward. Also, video ideas and things that you guys may want to see. Again, we're doing this not because we're looking to be famous. We're doing this because of the fact that this is something it's just me and her. There's no church supporting, there's no organization, no sponsorship, no corporations, nothing. It's just something that we decided to do on our own, and we want to encourage and inspire other people who are considering this, that it doesn't take much to do it. You guys can go out and you can do it as well. So our content is meant to encourage and inspire other individuals to do so in their communities or donate to causes that are. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Again, don't forget to drop those comments and those ideas. We love you guys so much. And remember, guys, it doesn't take much. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.